Hello and welcome back to another episode of Generation Films. My name is American Ben and today we are going to break down the hidden messages in the 1987 sci-fi classic, The Running Man. As I've just begun this secret series, there's a lot of films to choose from, and so I've kind of just been going with some of my favorites from days of yore. And rewatching the films in preparation has been a nerve-wracking experience as I hang on to every detail, sweating in the hopes of identifying some sort of philosophical angle to seize upon. And thus far, there's been mixed results. Demolition Man had a lot of underlying stuff to mess with. The Fifth Element, not bad either. Judge Dredd, meh, but workable. And finally, The Running Man was real light on the heady stuff. The truth is that I try to extrapolate as much as I can from what are honestly pretty straightforward narratives. And thoughtful premises, even void of more complex happenings in dialogue, are usually enough to get me there. But The Running Man is just such a simple, albeit fun movie. That said, part of the fun in going on this adventure with you guys is finding out which of our favorite films have more than meets the eye to them and which don't. Sometimes I want to go deeper with my thinking, but the movie just prevents me from doing so because it doesn't present anything which would allow for further exploration, and so if I went to that place, I wouldn't be staying relevant to the movie. However, I will always do my best to come up with something. And hey, The Running Man isn't completely empty. It has some important ideas to discuss. The Running Man starts off as any good 80s or 90s dystopian sci-fi movie does, with a bunch of text explaining how and why the world has collapsed. In this case, in the far future of 2017, the economy is in shambles. Essential resources are lacking, a police state rules our society with an iron hand, and it basically sounds like we're doing Judge Dredd and Demolition Man again. Except none of the societal dynamics I just mentioned matter very much to The Running Man, and nor do we see much of its world. However, what we really need to know about life in 2017 is that all forms of communication and art are censored and controlled by the state. Dissent isn't tolerated, and troublemakers are disappeared to re-education camps.
They told me the last tenant was taken away for...
Yes?
For re-education.
Enter Ben Richards, a police helicopter pilot who ends up being framed for murdering a bunch of rioters. He's sent to a labor camp where he meets members of an underground anti-government group, and together they break out of the camp and take off on the run from the law. Richards visits his brother's old apartment and takes the woman, Amber, living there, hostage and tries to force her to help him escape to Hawaii, but she spills the beans and he's arrested again. But this time he lucks out and is not sent back to the labor camp because TV host Damon Killian wants him to be a contestant on The Running Man, the most popular program on television in 2017. The Running Man is a game show in which prisoners, aka runners, fight for their lives against the show's various champions, aka stalkers. If the prisoners win, they gain their freedom, supposedly. But losing means sleepy time. The movie then follows Richard's attempt to survive the Running Man, all the while attempting to expose the truth about his incarceration. Now, I think a lot of the people who watch this movie will probably accuse it of having a lazy imagination, specifically in regards to its world building, and especially compared to some of its sci-fi contemporaries. The film's take on future Los Angeles looks, well, not much different than Los Angeles actually looks today. But I mean, whether the filmmaker's vision was lazy or not, The Running Man is set in 2017, and as almost all of you, aside from our small but fervent following of 4-year-olds know, 2017 was really basic. There are no flying cars or sentient robots in the modern day. We all just really hate each other now. I mean, okay, The Running Man got a few things wrong. For one thing, computers in the film have made almost no progress in 30 years. Airport security does not work like this.
Go on, go on.
And just overall, the filmmakers seem to believe that 80s trends would persist through time. Sorry to my friends of Care Bears past, but glitter and leotards are dead in the modern day. And for it, so too are we dead inside. Now, this all said, that the film portrays a not so far-fetched future indicates one of two things to me. Either A, the filmmakers just didn't care that much about world building, or B, they wanted the film to be relatable to contemporary audiences. They wanted to speak to societal issues at play in 1987. And thus, we return to The Running Man.
They want ratings. I can get 10 points for his biceps alone. Hello.
The Running Man's world is one in which TV ratings are the priority, and humanity, as in humaneness, comes second. The people involved in putting the show together have no values or morals. They don't care what the prisoners have done, they just want viewership.
I saw the video of your prison break. Sensational.
Now in this video, we're not going to debate the utility of morals or consider what kind of morals specifically should compose a national moral fabric. The film doesn't really get into specifics in that regard anyway, but in general, The Running Man portrays a Hollywood-esque culture, probably a not completely unrealistic one either, that sees no value in humans aside from the ratings they can bring in.
We're #1, Ben. That's all that counts. Believe me, I've been in the business 30 years.
But the film doesn't just aim to criticize the television industry. No, it's a condemnation of our entire culture. One that is ripe with people claiming to be virtuous, but who are en masse accidentally callous and unfeeling.
I got a friend at a talent agency. Maybe they've got an axe murder or something.
Hello, gorgeous.
The prisoners are completely dehumanized. They're spoken about and used by the show's producers as if they're objects. It's all kind of disquieting. What The Running Man actually does uniquely well is that it presents images to us that make us uncomfortable. There's actually some really profane moments in the movie. We have happy music being played against a runner falling to his death at the jaws of feral dogs. Runners are also introduced into the game as an NBA player might before the start of a basketball game.
Our star runner tonight needs no introduction. He's Ben Richards.
Dancers also interject the main event with bright and lively numbers. But make no mistake, death is still central to the game, and because the runners are likely soon to meet brutal ends, all the surrounding conviviality is a bit dark and unsettling. But what is most discomforting of all is the behavior of the audience, perhaps the movie's most important and effective plot device.
Edith Wiggins, come on down!
The audience members aren't a gang of inhuman heathens. They seem to be a collection of average Joes, the exact type of decent people who one would expect to be among a game show audience. And yet the audience is down with all of the bloodshed. They cheer when runners are massacred, they participate rather enthusiastically and merrily collect prizes won for correctly predicting the contestant who will get the next kill. And were I to make this video in 1987, I might stick to general commentary here about how the masses are quick to become an unfeeling mob and are happy to reap rewards at others' expense. The lot of people in society, both the good-natured and bad, help to advance what modern peoples throughout the world might term evils, with little self-awareness as to what they're doing or who they're hurting. However, you know what? Credit to The Running Man, because the film is especially relevant today. Because when I look at this audience, I see a body of people happy to see others, in this case convicted felons, get destroyed. Of course, there's nothing wrong with cheering on the suffering of transgressors, right? The people in The Running Man's audience have convinced themselves that not only is it okay to revel in the demise of the runners because they've violated the law, but that it's actually moral to do so. Ben Richards is an unacceptable person to this audience, and so it's okay to take a little bit of enjoyment in his pain. Now, I don't know if this type of human behavior produces some sort of corrective effect that were society void of the action altogether, people could actually be worse off. I don't know, and the movie doesn't allow for a deeper exploration like that to be relevant here. But I have to pull this video back a bit for now, because I do feel like what the movie is more commenting on is how people get lost in the mob. People are liable to get swept up in the sentiments of the masses and become unable to see clearly. Society, and by society I mean our culture as a whole, makes villains out of certain people and heroes out of others, and most people just go along with it all.
Obligations to each other. Respective rights and rights.
Lucky he didn't kill you, too.
Everyone just assumes the runners are monsters because that's what they've been told. Brainwashing, of course, is a bit easier in a police state like the one at rule in the film. It's no coincidence that the most popular stalker is named Captain Freedom, a man who has become a sort of champion of the people. Despite the violent acts he commits against prisoners unwillingly thrust into battle, the audience sees him as the epitome of heroism. And were we to be in that audience in that time, we might believe the same thing, given the dogmas drilled into people's heads by the powers that be. America has long had a rather jingoistic character to it, undergirded by an almost religious pro-military culture. And I'm not taking a position here, I'd honestly rather not speak on this issue. But the movie does seem to intend to criticize blind patriotism, and rather simplistically so if you ask me. And so thus we are going to have to be a little bit simplistic here ourselves. Americans, as all nations do to a degree, have a long history of lionizing people deemed to be patriots, people who sing the praises of the nation and spout the right things about loving the military and freedom and hating communism and kings. And those who oppose that narrative are oft portrayed as wicked or crazy. More so in 1987 than in 2021, I suppose. And the audience members in The Running Man are stuck in the mindset of the blind patriot. When their illusion is broken at various points, such as when a stalker dies, they sit silent in shock because a mighty hero has just perished. And then Killian gives a somber speech in Ode to the Fallen.
Words can't express what we're all feeling at this very moment.
We, the viewers of the movie, know the stalkers to be kind of bad guys, but that's because we exist outside of its society and haven't been privy to the same conditioning that the audience has been exposed to. When Ben and the other rebels broadcast the truth about the game and his arrest to the world, the audience again sits there shocked, this time as if their whole world has been shattered. They hadn't even been able to change their minds after watching Ben show mercy to Dynamo, but now they have been presented with clear evidence that everything they have been told is a lie. I imagine this is how people in societies ruled over by leaders who claim themselves to be gods feel when their countries lose wars. They don't believe defeat is even possible until it happens. As a matter of fact, despite Killian's death at the end, the producers of the show will probably rebound and frame Killian as a villain, and the death games will continue to the delight of viewers everywhere. I mean, the audience cheered for Killian's death. Even you might have cheered for his death. And so this doesn't seem to foretell of a coming enlightenment of humankind, being that people are still quick to celebrate a person perishing in a fiery blaze. Now, even though society in The Running Man has been completely reshaped, notably into a police state, following an economic collapse, it appears that The Running Man is still a profit-driven show. And in a kind of simplistic way, the movie attempts to say that there is some sort of capitalistic element which informs the swing of the show.
Americans love television. We give them what they want.
People in 2017 demand patriotism, and The Running Man has turned patriotism into a product.
All you do, you send your checks to the Patriots Fund, care this station.
It features patriotic heroes taking down lawbreakers, some of whom happen to be part of an anti-government faction. Thus, the government brainwashes the people demand patriotism, and The Running Man comes in to deliver it in order to pull in profit, and as a result, we get a never-ending cycle of madness built to reinforce people's views. That said, I don't really feel comfortable getting too deep into this side of the movie's themes because honestly, the film itself does little to coherently expound upon the messages it appears to want to convey. However, when it comes to commentary on the callousness of the masses, it hits a pretty powerful note. Anyways, that's my breakdown of The Running Man's underlying messages. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments below what I missed, what you think about the film. Subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a damn thing. For now, my name is American Ben. I'll catch you next time. Generation Films, peace.